Welcome to Unfuck Your Legal Marketing, the show where we get brutally honest about marketing, business, and the messy middle of making it all work. I'm Gary Johnson, marketing coach, strategist, and professional BS detector for attorneys and business owners who are tired of doing what everyone else does. Around here, we skip the fluff. We have real conversations, real insights, and maybe a few F-bombs along the way. So let's get into it. Welcome to Unfuck Your Legal Marketing. I'm your host, Gary Johnson. And my goal is to give you, the listener, ideas, tactics, strategies, and inspiration to grow your legal practice through the guests that I bring on to the podcast. And while legal marketing, there's a lot that you can do to grow your business, but that's not always a good thing, because the bad part is that not everything will work for you. And some of the legal marketing activities that other people are telling you to do are actually fucked. And the good part is that there's something that you can do. Every single lawyer can do to build their book of business. And together, we're going to unfuck your legal marketing. And so today's guest, who is actually my very first guest and is someone that so many attorneys already know when it comes to business development done the right way. He's the founder of Fretzin, Inc., which has been coaching attorneys for over 2 decades on how to grow sustainable books of business. He is also the host of Be That Lawyer podcast, and he is the author of, I think, 5 books, and his latest is this one, which is Be That Lawyer, 101 Top Rainmakers Secrets to Growing a Successful Law Practice. And Steve, the other thing about Steve is he's been coaching attorneys for a while, but he helps them build their confidence, their consistency, and get real momentum without feeling salesy. So I'm excited to welcome my dear friend, Steve Fretzin, to the show.
All right, Gary Johnson, Steve Fretzin, peanut butter and chocolate smacking together. Delicious treat. Right. We're a delicious treat for you all.
It's a great treat for everybody. So, but thank you. Thank you.
Hey,
so let's jump in.
Peanut butter in my chocolate?
I love that, actually.
It was like the best commercial when we were growing up.
Oh my God, it was. And also, it's one of my favorite protein drinks, where I put peanut butter and chocolate into this mix. And if I'm feeling really saucy, I'm actually putting in a banana.
I was going to say, blow your mind, throw a banana in there, but you've already got it down, man. You know about bananas, that's for sure.
Of course, yes.
It also happens to be your nickname. So, no? All right. Some of them are going to go over better than others, I think.
Seriously.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into an important concept first, and that's consistency. And why is consistency so important on developing a book of business?
Yeah, it's been said maybe thousands of times. Not only do lawyers not learn business development, marketing in law school and at the law firm level, but then the other saying is, random acts of marketing. Just, I'll attend this event, I'll post on LinkedIn today, I'll do, and we're just feeling like we're doing the right things because we are putting ourselves out there and attending a conference and doing this, that, and the other. The problem is, to your point, without consistency, what is it really driving towards results? It's not, right? It's just random occurrences, and you might pop a new client, or you might, have something positive happen, or make a new relationship. But I think that consistent podcasting, consistent social media posting, consistent networking at providers or other groups that you're a part of, it makes all the difference in the world, because you're showing up, you're being seen, you're helping others, you're providing value, you're doing hopefully the right things consistently. Maybe that's a way to add a little spin on it. You want to be consistent doing the right things. What are those right things? Maybe that's something we need to get into.
Yeah, I mean, when you're first starting to work with somebody, like you had said, you have to be able to show up consistently. You got to continue to do the same things, but you got to do them right. Yeah. You got to do the right things right. Yeah. How do they figure out what the hell is right for them, right? So I am consistent. I want to be consistent. So let's say they say, okay, I want to be consistent, but what am I going to be consistent on? Yeah. How do you help your clients figure that out?
I mean, I had a client meeting not only 15 minutes before this call. And I said, and she's in real estate, and that's 90% of her business. But when she started listing out all the things that she does or that her firm does, I was like, all right, stop. What do you enjoy doing? She said, real estate. I say, all right, right there. I said, what's profitable? She goes, real estate. I go, all right there. Residential or commercial? She goes, well, commercial. I go, well, right there. And I said, and how do you want to be seen and viewed, and what do you want your future to be? And she goes, well, commercial real estate. I go, well, all right. So why are you talking about estate planning or other areas, contracts and employment? I'm like, don't. That doesn't mean you can't do those things when they come to you or hand them off to your firm, but you need to be consistent in your branding and your marketing and your business developing all around one thing. It's commercial real estate, and you're really good at it. So let's lean into that situation. And she was like a weight had been lifted just in that conversation, because she recognized, I don't have to be everything to everybody. I can really stay focused. I said, of course, this old saying that the riches are in the niches, and she hadn't heard that before, and we have. But to someone that
how
heard,
has somebody not heard that? What the fuck?
That's so brilliant
come
of
on.
you. And I'm like, yeah, I just came up with that off the top of my head just now.
I actually said that.
Full credit to me.
I said that saying to my wife last week, and she goes, "Isn't it niches?" And I'm like, "Oh, fuck you!"
Yeah.
Like, it's niches. Come on,
It's tomatoes, right? No, like, where are we going?
tomatoes, tomatoes. It doesn't work unless you say niches, because it's riches. And she's like, "All right, whatever."
Yeah.
You marketing people.
That's the only reason it should be called niches, because it rhymes with niches, just to get those people off the.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you can take those French people.
But think about it. There are people trying to be everything to everybody, and they're building a brand that no one knows, right? Because it's so broad, and it's just a huge waste of their voice. And then you get someone that, and I tell the story not that often, but I'm laying in bed after my plane crash. I slipped that right into the conversation, Gary. And both of my arms are broken, so I have no use of my arms. My dad pushes a phone to my ear, because this is back when we had corded phones. And he says, talk to your lawyer. It's Bob. And I don't know who Bob is. Well, everyone in Chicago who knows about aviation crashes knows exactly who Bob is. Yeah. Bob Clifford. He's the only name you would call in an aviation accident in Chicago. Okay?
Yeah.
So, niching personal injury, niching estate planning, real estate, whatever it is, there's a reason people are very successful doing it, because you're known for something versus being not known for everything.
Why do they not do it?
I think there's some fear. There's fear with FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So, I could be bringing in, I happened to get a big, estate plan, 5 years ago, and it was $50,000. Oh my God, it was so great. Haven't gotten any since, but I keep bringing up that I do estate planning to everybody that'll listen to me. I mean, that's why. It's generally fear that you're letting go of things, or that people aren't going to, think of you for things. But then again, we're not why did you and I focus on lawyers versus everybody? Well, I did everybody. I did everybody. Let's let me change that around a little bit.
Hopefully your wife is not listening to this.
And I've done everybody, Gary, and that's the most important part. I worked at over 50 industries, and you don't just say, "Oh, I've worked in 50 industries. Lawyers are the best. I'm going to work with lawyers." No, I had to let it happen over a period of a couple of years to identify not only that just like we talked about earlier, I know there's a need. I enjoy working with them. They don't know a lot about sales and business development and marketing, so it's great. It's like a whiteboard that's clear, and it's profitable. And by the way, they also have a great need, and they could appreciate sales-free methods of doing things. Okay, but so it happened over 2 years. I didn't just decide in a minute. Right. But I think there are some people that maybe should decide in a minute, because if it's 90% of your business, you can make that decision and then start making some changes.
Yeah, totally. Do you ever have a situation where you're teaching somebody the sales-free selling and they try it a couple of times? No, it doesn't work.
Yep.
Didn't work for me. Sorry. What's your next plan? What's your next situation?
What else you got for me?
What else do you got for me? Do you ever have that happen? And if so, how do you get them to be consistent? Because that is the absolute opposite. I try something, doesn't work, I move on. And so what they're doing is they're just constantly moving on, which again is going against consistency.
Well, there's a couple of ways to answer this. Number one is I need people that I'm coaching to buy into the philosophy that that prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. So I decided to walk into a doctor's office. My arm's been killing me lately. Too much sports, is what I'll say. And
Sports.
And too many sports. Some people call it that. And then the doctor takes one look at me, says, "What's wrong? My arm hurts." Says, "Well, let's just cut that off." Thanks, Doc. I appreciate that. That's a great prescription. You did okay. Malpractice coming shortly afterward. And lawyers love to talk. They love to solve. They love to pitch. They love to show their knowledge on a subject. They're all solutions people. So are you and I.
Yep.
So we have to train ourselves to put diagnosis before prescription. And my philosophy of sales-free selling revolves around that mantra, that we are going to get to talk. We are going to get our turn to show how smart we are. It's not about if, it's about when. And so that's part of it, is like, does somebody get that makes sense? If they say that doesn't make sense at all, well, we're probably in trouble, right? Because they're not going to be able to follow the philosophy and the methodology that I'm teaching. The second thing is, I put people, I teach a class every Tuesday morning. I've got 15 lawyers in there. Some have been in there for 4 or 5 months. Some have been in there for 2 weeks. Okay. And I have the people that have been in there for a period of time explain how this system works and really share their experiences with the new people. Because if I tell people, just trust me, half the group might and half the group are going to go tell me to jump in a lake, right?
Right, because it's attorneys. I mean, attorneys are
right.
very
You might as well,
adversarial.
right.
They're trying to find the other side of it.
Give advice to my teenager and expect that to be listened to, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, but you know who they do trust and who they do listen to? Their peers, right? Especially peers that have more experience than them in this game. So I feel like I have a really good handle on, when I meet with an attorney, do they get that they have gaps and needs, and are they motivated to change and motivated to take action and follow a philosophy like sales-free selling? Fortunately, many of them have read the book. They've listened to my podcast. They've gotten a feel for how I'm coming across. So I'm not starting from like ground zero. I'm starting from a place of some trust. Okay.
Oh, totally.
And then once they get into the class, like, it all just lays out for them, and and I send them a video that kind of explains, like, buyers suck and all they want is our price and information and free consulting. And if we go with the flow with them, they're just going to take advantage of us and use us and abuse us and waste our time. And they love the idea that they have a better way of doing it where their time isn't wasted. So I have a number of different ways to get them bought in without saying, trust me. And I never say that.
So for all the listeners right now, did you hear what fucking Steve just did? He just told you how he sells his clients, because it really is right there. It is not salesy in any manner whatsoever. You're trying to figure out, is this a good fit or not? You've built the credibility up with all of your marketing that you have out there on a consistent basis. But it's like, hey, look, if this is a good fit, it's so easy to make the decision that says, yeah, let's work together, as opposed to, well, I don't know, I need to check this person out and that person out and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, nobody wants to waste their time with consultations. Nobody does, And I know attorneys constantly feel like they're being taken advantage of. Yeah. I always say,
well, and
you're
for good
being
reason.
taken advantage of for them. I always say, that's on you. That's not on the other person, because if you're doing it correctly, you can actually control the conversation. But you have to be a really good listener. You have to be really curious and resist, whatever you do, resist saying, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
This is what because I know the path. I've done this a ton of times. I've seen people just like you. Let's just cut that arm off. Yeah. Let's go. I've seen this. Like, okay, Steve.
You know what it is? A lot of it, Gary, is the fallback to not following a system or not asking good questions is talking. Yeah. When you run out of good questions, you have nothing left to say. Let me tell you why we're so great. So we have to prepare our clients with a process to follow that allows for us to control the meeting in a friendly, win-win way. We have to prepare them with questions to ask that happen naturally and conversationally to get to the heart of what's really going on and what's wrong, where are the gaps, right? And we need to, this is a big word and a very important word that most lawyers don't think of at all when they're in a business development consultation meeting or pitch meeting, whatever you want to call it, is the word qualify. We think that this is about them hiring us. The way I want to flip this script is it's about a win-win, but also, do we want to work with them? And the four qualifiers that I talk about, number one is, do they have a compelling reason to change firms? to change lawyers, to engage a lawyer. Because I will tell you right now, nobody should ever engage a lawyer unless they need to. Like, there's no reason to do it, and nobody will, and nobody should. So there has to be compelling reasons for someone to want to take action. Are they committed to taking action on their problem to resolve it with the lawyer's help? Are you dealing with the decision maker or just someone gathering information or gatekeeping? And do they have the financial wherewithal and the ability and interest to pay you? And if you go in and you just start selling and pitching to everybody, and you don't know those 4 things ahead of it, that's where a lot of people wonder, like, why did they ghost me, or where did they go? And they went away because you didn't do a proper due diligence and diagnosis on your end.
Yep, totally true.
That was a mouthful.
And it was a mouthful, but that's 4. I mean,
well, that was one sentence.
4 issues in gold of what you need to do so that you're not wasting your time. It really is. How do you suggest to your clients to find out their financial wherewithal, especially litigators, because litigators have such a difficult time because you have no idea how much, litigation is going to cost. You don't know what the opposing counsel is going to do. You don't know, are they going to settle quickly? Are we going to be able to get you to the finish line? There's so much up in the air. How do they find out in advance whether this company or this individual is going to have the wherewithal to be able to pay their fees?
I think some of it comes down to understanding what their experiences have been in the past with using lawyers. Someone that has a business, has never worked with a lawyer, has no idea what rates are, no idea what flat fees are, like has never litigated, like none of it. That's going to be very challenging because there's no precedence of it. But if somebody has we were using, Seyfarth, or we were using, Jenner. They've worked with lawyers and they've done litigation. They've maybe told you about like how that's gone, maybe why they're leaving that firm to want to talk with you. And you have some idea, like based on who they're working with, like what they've been paying. So if somebody's paying $1,000 an hour and you come in at $350, that could be a problem because you don't know anything about the law. You're only $350. You're obviously stupid and you don't know anything, right? On the other hand, if you come in at $2,000, they might be like, well, wait a second. I've just been paying this big firm $1,000. You're at $2,000. Well, that sounds like that's a lot of money. Maybe they don't understand why, because you could do it in a third the time. Who knows? But the point is, knowledge is power. And that's why one of the qualifiers that I tell people you need to get out is you need to understand what their financial situation is and what their experience has been in working with lawyers, because that will give you, in many cases, the answer. The other piece of it, Gary, I think is how big is the problem, how deep does it go, and what the potential downside could be. Like if you're looking at what the ROI is on solving it. So let's say that my problem is $1 million problem. Would I be willing to throw $100,000 at $1 million problem? Probably. Okay. Yeah. But if I don't understand it's $1 million problem, that hasn't been worked out for me, and someone asks me for $100,000, I'm probably going to laugh them out of the room because I don't really know what that means or what I'm getting for it. So I think there's a balance, and that's why questioning is so important, because we're never going to know all this stuff if we're not ferreting it out in a soft conversational way with the prospective client, moving them kind of from easy questions to more and more challenging as we go.
Yeah, and I always say the worst thing that you can do is assume. It's that old adage of if you assume, you're making an ass out of you and me, because you're thinking this is what they want when really this is what they want. And also, if you're not pulling out the pain and it's not painful enough for them, they're not going to make a decision to work with you.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. Like you had said,
no urgency,
it's $1 million problem. Huh?
There's no urgency, right? They're just going to drag it out and look for free consulting and put it off until it gets much more urgent, and then they're in a pickle.
Absolutely.
So as a lawyer, you should say to yourself, I need to go deeper with my questions because I'm going to find out more and maybe, help resolve something for somebody that if they let it go could be much worse. And they're going to, if it's just a transaction, $100,000 for some legal work and that's all they see, versus how bad things are going to get if they let it go and they don't make that investment.
Absolutely. I mean, I had one of my clients who was landing a small little client called Google. And the thing with them was it was a $50 million issue. But the reason why they hired this firm was because of PR. The one thing that they identified was Google did not want people to know about this. They just didn't.
Yep.
It was a privacy issue. They just didn't, and look, Google gets hit with lawsuits all the time, privacy issues all of the time. This isn't anything that's new. But it was one of these, Chet, like, you're going to help us keep this out of the media. That right there was like, ooh, that adds on to why should I work with you as opposed to the Kirklands of the world, And they were not a big firm. I mean, mid-sized firm, but still, that was a huge win for them.
Yeah.
But it was strictly because
you had to figure out that was a
Exactly.
part of the solution that they needed to hear. So like sometimes when I talk to people about like, what do you say? They're like, well, wait, Steve, you're saying ask questions the whole meeting. Well, no, there's a point where maybe you do talk, okay, but it should really be what they need to see, hear, or experience. Maybe not everything. People come to me. Do they ask me to see all my materials? Do they want to see my syllabus for my class? Do they want to talk with my clients? Some do. And if they say that that's important to them, or if I see that it'll help, then I'll do that. I'm not, people don't need everything. They just need like what will resolve the issue and make sure that they're comfortable moving forward.
Yep. Here's another thing that I tell my clients is that the reason why they're being so prescriptive is because they're trying to share with the other person how competent they are. Like you had said, trust me, I know what the hell I'm doing. And I tell them, if you've got great questions, that's going to help out with your competency. Yeah. That's going to help out with your credibility, because it's going to get the client that says, I didn't think about that. Wow, I didn't think about that. And I didn't think about that. And yeah, that is kind of important to me, and da, 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 da. And then they go, this person knows what you haven't even told them anything. All you've done is ask them the right questions to pull out that pain, and they're experiencing that pain and going, Steve's the one who's going to help me with this. Okay, I feel comfortable about working with you. Even though I don't want to pay the $2,000, it's worth it, because I know you're going to get me to where I want to be, or you're giving me the best chance.
Well, they get to your expertise not by your pitch, but by the power of your questions, the depth of understanding that you have for them, the connectivity of that relationship in that conversation. And here's the other word that's amazing is the belief. Like they then believe, whether you can do it or not, that may or may not be the case. My hope is that you can do it, but they believe in you, and they believe that you can help them because of the way you conducted yourself in that meeting. Again, back to the doctor, a great bedside manner and confidence before surgery. When someone looks you in the eye and says, I've done this 1,000 times, you never lost anybody. And, I know exactly what I'm doing. We've got this all figured out. And I'm feeling great about going into that surgery versus, guy swings in, says, trust me, I'm a salesman, and I'm just like, holy crap. Can I get a second opinion? Is it too late? I'm in the OR getting a second opinion. Come here, nurse. I've got a question for you, nurse. Is there someone else that you can bring over here?
So you had brought up a really good point that I wanted to share a story with, which was I had an M&A attorney who, as we were working together and with a large firm, and he was going into large organizations, billion-dollar organizations, to help them buy and sell businesses. And he goes, I need help with my PowerPoint presentation. And I said, how about the next time you do a consultation, you have 0 PowerPoint? He's like, oh, that would be a kiss of death. I'm like, why? He goes, because it's a dog and pony show. I need to have these nice slides so that they know I prepared, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
I go, really? What about if you just built the relationship, then you had your consultation, and all you did was ask questions to figure out what the pain was? And luckily, he said, I'll try it. On my next one, I'll try it. Yep. He landed the client so fast because it was so different. All the other companies were like, here are my attorneys. They brought in all their attorneys. Yeah. They had this beautiful PowerPoint presentation, but they constantly say, but this attorney doesn't get me. Like, it looks beautiful, but they don't get me. Yeah. That's the number one thing that they want, right? They want to know that you can help them with their problem. A pitch deck, could it help them potentially get through? Yeah, it could. But if you rely solely on that as opposed to your questions, you're going to lose a whole lot more than you will gain from that experiences.
I mean, even a pitch deck, Gary, should be used on the back end, right? But it should also be set up based on, again, what they need to see, hear, experience. Why are you putting in full service firm and all this stuff about the other areas of law when they asked you about IP and that's their main and only concern?
Yeah.
And you're talking about everything your firm can do. That might, so now they say, that now I have an I didn't have an objection, but now I do. I really want a focused IP, group that's going to handle, and it sounds like you guys do everything and you're all over the place. Well, you lose the business because you weren't listening and you weren't thinking about how your pitch and your deck or whatever should be tweaked and managed to solve and resolve the things that they care about, not everything.
Yep.
Right? So,
yeah. And this goes back to your first point, is being niched. Because if you're like, oh, we do this and this,
but on the other side, they might want a full
this
service, right? They might want a full service. And so let's say you identify that they're looking for full service and you only do one thing. Maybe what you're doing is either, talking about your network or talking about the firms that you engage with and work with and can bring in on this thing. Or maybe you say, this isn't really for me. Like, I could spend the next 6 months chasing after this, but they need a full and want one firm to handle everything. We only do one thing. Maybe I can refer this to my friend who's in full service. He gets the business. I make a great friend. I make a great connection. And maybe they keep me in mind for something else. So, we just have to do what's right for everybody. And I know it's hard because there's money involved and we like money and we want that to come in. But I think most people end up regretting making the decisions about the work they take in or the client they brought on when it really wasn't a good fit, but they just needed or wanted that work. And then they end up with the worst client and the worst experience and not getting paid. And so I think, when you do things the right way for the right reason, you get better results in the short term and the long term. But sometimes we need to learn the hard lesson.
Yeah. Okay. So staying on the theme of doing a consultation, and you know what my favorite F word is? Actually, no, I love F words, but this F word, which is difficult for a lot of attorneys, and that is follow-up. What does effective follow-up actually look like after a consultation?
I mean, the simplest answer is you need to have a system for follow-up that you can use, that's usable and workable for you. If you don't, and you're just doing it off the top of your head, you're going to be making a lot of mistakes. You're not going to be consistent, which we're going back to the first part of the whole thing. And I think right now, between your calendar and AI and CRMs and all the different tools that are out there, a spreadsheet, I don't really care. Something that you can just, like, I have a list of leads, and I can just review them every day and then set up tasks in my calendar to, hey, follow up with John. He asked you to follow up in a week. So I think if we do what we say we're going to do and we demonstrate that follow up, we're going to get the results that we expect. And if we do it haphazardly and we start getting a bad reputation because sometimes we follow up and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we, do what we say and sometimes we don't. Well, that's no one that anyone wants to do business with long term, right? Because that means they're going to get burned at some point.
Absolutely. And so that you're consistent, you've got to have a system. And you got to follow that system, and follow up. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do,
It's not.
And a lot of people go, F word is bad, follow up, but people get busy. People, stuff happens and all of a sudden they forget about this, that, and the other thing. And they want to know that you are going to be there. And like you had said, and I think this is so brilliant, do what you say you're going to do. Very simple. If you do what you say you're going to do, that adds so much credibility. And
without a system, that's hard to do, right, Gary? Because
it's next to impossible.
Everyone wants to do what they say they're going to do, right? We all want to do that. We're not bad people, right? We're not trying to trick people.
There are some that are.
All right. I mean, the people listening to this show are all good people, right?
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to say.
Maybe.
But ultimately, you need to have a system. And again, it's I go back to the Seinfeld of, since I have the Seinfeldisms up on my wall over here, people can see, Serenity Now and all that stuff. Good stuff.
No soup for you.
No soup for you, exactly. But, you're at the car rental place and you've secured a car and they say, well, Mr. Seinfeld, we have a car reservation, but we don't have a car for you. Right? He goes, so you took the reservation, but you didn't keep the reservation. And that's really the most important part. And he does the whole thing, right? With his hands.
It's the most important part.
Exactly.
Keeping
But
it,
that's how
holding
it is with people. And it's like people that aren't demonstrating that they can do the most simple thing, like follow up and do what they say. You said you were going to make an introduction for me. You flat out blew it off. I followed up with you in an email. You didn't respond to that. You're done. You're done. You're burned. And if you're burning people in your network left and right, you're not going to be around very long. And I know a number of people like this that are not around anymore because they burned a bunch of people and now nobody wants to talk with them. So we need to come, that system's going to be critical.
Yeah, it really is. And I always say, if you tell somebody you're going to do something, write it down. Yeah. Write it down, because we get so busy and inundated by so many different things. But your word is your bond. And like you had said, that can really hurt. Now, granted, let's say you forgot. Make amends.
Yeah.
Make amends with the person. Admit to it. Hey, Steve, I know I said I was going to introduce you to Sarah. I totally screwed up. My bad. I still want to do it if you still, if it's still valuable to you. And if it is, I will do it right now. Simple, easy, make amends. Most of the time we are forgiving individuals that are saying, hey, Steve, don't worry about it, da, 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 da. So much easier to forgive somebody when they have admitted that they screwed up.
Yep.
This is difficult, I find, with attorneys, because they always want to be right. And they're like, I don't want to admit my faults. And yet it's one of the best ways to continue to secure a really great relationship, because that's really what it is. It's you're helping out a relationship.
That's what all relationships are, Gary. I mean, there's no relationship that exists that's based on that lasts. That's based on lies and missed commitments. Nobody stays in any relationship like that, really. Or unless there's two people that do it to each other as a goof. I don't know. That's crazy.
But even then, it just doesn't, there's no longevity with that, right? Because people do have relationships where they lie to people. But to your point, it's short-lived, right? It's this here today, gone tomorrow, and you're constantly building new relationships all the time. That's exhausting. Yeah. And also that leads to very little business, as opposed to you get a little bit of business from somebody, a little more, a little more, a little more. Pretty soon they become your behemoth for a referral source. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's a snowball effect. Yep. But you've got to be able to treat them right, which is, how would you want to be treated? That's it. Simple, easy. But the follow-up, I find with my clients is a challenging time, because they don't want to be seen as greedy, as desperate. Well, if I follow up with them, they're going to know that I need the business, and this is just really needy. How do you help them overcome those sort of mental limiting beliefs?
There's there's lots of benefits to having a process for business development, and most lawyers don't, right? So you and I are in this space for a reason, right? And one of the steps that I teach lawyers that helps keep this in check is establishing, relationship at the beginning of a meeting, and then allowing us to agree on a game plan for how things are going to run. And one of the steps that I talk about is in this game plan is, at the establishing time and purpose and why we're meeting here today and what's this all about, asking questions, and then wrapping it up with something like, look, at the end of our meeting, if we feel like this is something we both want to move forward on, let's talk about a next step, and let's end this meeting with a specific next step and a follow-up, okay? Yes. On the other hand, if this isn't a good fit, then we can be honest with each other and call it a day and stay friends, and that's okay too. Does that work for you and with you? And the person says, oh, that's so refreshing and great, which is wonderful. But it freaks people out, because you're basically giving them permission to say no, which goes counterproductive to everything that's ever been taught in sales for thousands of years. But that's what we're doing. We need to give people not only the out, but we need to give people a yes or no. It's either let's move this forward and keep talking, or let's end it. Why? Well, because the typical American answer is, I'll think about it, I'll get back to you, or I'll let you know, which are nice ways of saying no. We just don't decipher it that way, because that hurts our egos, right? And that hurts everything we've just put into this. So by giving people two options to move this forward, and I'm not saying sign up, right? I'm not saying you got to sign on the dotted line. Just let's create a next step and talk about what that is and move it forward, or let's move it out. Not only does that save us a lot of time, but it sets up the ability of us to not only follow up, but like actually you can schedule the next meeting. You can set up a date and time for the next meeting. So the follow-up is much more limited because you have everything laid out ahead of time. So there's, that's the thing that lawyers don't understand is like they have a process for running a trial. They have a process for getting a real estate deal done, right? There's process they've learned and they've improved and they've got it down to a science. Then when it comes to something important like business development, where your control, freedom, and independence all rests on your ability to build a book of business, and they just wing it and just say, I don't need a process, I'll just figure it out. I'm smart. Man, that's a lot of billable hours out the window, and no recognition that processes are actually important in how we dry off after a shower, all the way to trial and everything else. There's lots of we have processes for everything we do.
Yeah, your analogies are kind of fucked up.
Did I just mention drying in a shower, drying off after a shower? I did. Right, bottom up. Isn't that what everybody does? Bottom up, toes up. No.
I'm like, okay, it's sort of like, how do you wipe?
I just shake until I'm dry. I shake violently until all the water's off of me. It takes about 20, 30 minutes. But that's my process.
You're like a fucking dog.
I'm a dog. I'm a dog, right? I'll rub myself on the wall. Whatever I got to do to dry off, I'll do it.
But to your point, I mean, that's brilliant. And anybody listening to this, that is gold right there. Have a system. Don't be afraid of objections. Don't be afraid of somebody saying no. The more you put it out there, the less time that you waste. Also, the amount of emotional energy that you'll put towards that will also dissipate as well. Oh God, I hope they really like me. I hope that find out what is our next steps. It leaves the mystery out.
Yeah.
That's it, and don't be afraid of somebody going, yeah, this isn't a good fit. Like, they're saying it to you now, that rip the Band-Aid off. Let's
celebrate it.
If
you know why someone's saying no and it makes sense and you're not getting the business, you should be so much happier than them stringing you along for 6 months where you have to keep following up and checking in and hoping and praying they're going to come around, telling your managing partner that it's coming in sometime soon, and it never is, and it never will.
Never.
Okay?
Never.
So it's just, our time is such a value. We're not lawyers, but we get how valuable your time is. We get how valuable our time is. And anything that we can do that's going to help us save time, get more business, and save the heartache that accompanies the mystery of, is somebody going to, work with me or not? That's all gold for you guys and how you progress in your careers, right? Yeah. Versus just staying where you are. Do you have 10 years of experience one time, or do you have 10 years of growth? That's what we want to see.
Yeah. I just saw a speaker the other day that said, I lost 50 pounds. Everybody's like, woo. She goes, don't be so happy. I lost 5 pounds 10 times.
Ouch.
It's 50 pounds.
That is.
And you just go,
yo.
So, Steve, this show is called Unfuck Your Legal Marketing. In that vein, what's one thing that you see lawyers doing that hurts their marketing, and how can they unfuck that?
It's two answers that I'll string together into one answer.
Great.
There's a couple things. Yeah, great. Thanks for screwing this up.
No.
Number one is your mindset about marketing and business development. We get it. You didn't sign up for it. This is not why you became a lawyer. I wish I could hold your hand and hug you and hold you as you mourn the loss of that dream, or go in-house and hope for the best. I mean, there's that. For the rest of you human lawyers that are in private practice, the reality is that the only way to have true freedom, control, and independence in your career is to have a book of business. And I don't think there's a rainmaker that would tell you otherwise. Okay, because guess what? They have it. And if you're one listening, you have it, and good for you. So the reality is, you have to have the mindset, not only to admit that this is something you're not an expert in, but also to say, you know what? It's not that you have to go out and right away hire Gary or I to be your coach. You don't have to. That's next week. This week, it's this thing. I'll be here all night. This week, it's just deciding that this is the reality of your situation, and that you need to start thinking about yourself as a student of the game. You need to think about LinkedIn and how you're going to leverage it. You need to think about writing a plan. You need to think about just reading, studying, and just taking this as a side hustle, a side project, that learning these skills however you can take them in is going to benefit your family, your longevity in the space. And by the way, to scare the dickens out of you, AI, we could say it's a nothing burger. I've got a dozen experts that have been on my show that are all in legal, and they're all weighing in, and this is going to get interesting, folks. So, either figure it out now or be left behind in 3 years, because one of those two things is going to happen. And I'm not saying you got to be an expert at AI, but I know if you have a $1 million, $2 million book of business and AI is coming around, you're going to be okay. And if you don't have any of your own business and you're just doing grunt work all day, guess what? Or the hours
you're going to be on the firing line.
You're going to be in a pickle.
Yep. It's so true. You're not going to be as valuable because you got AI that is doing it for you.
Yeah.
Thing that's going to differentiate a lot of attorneys is not only their competence, but also how much business.
The relationships, Gary. It's the relationships.
Absolutely.
Who has the relationships? Yep. Who are they talking to around the AI can do the work on the back end. That's fine. But who's engaging with the client and who has their confidence and who's their trusted advisor? And that needs to be you. If you're just working for 5 other attorneys and 10 other clients that are just you're their workhorse, and I get it. That's a great starting point. But that's not where you should end up if you're 10 years in, 15, 20 years in.
Yeah, I love it.
And a lot of attorneys are.
A lot of attorneys are, unfortunately.
Maybe not the ones listening to this show, though, right, Gary?
Of course. They're like the top of the top.
Yes, of course.
But we all can learn. We all can learn.
Yes, it's a never-ending project.
It really is. So thank you, Steve, for being on.
Thanks for having me, man. Of course, I love you, brother. You're the best. And this is
Dude,
so I'm just so honored that you're having me on and allowing me to,
of course.
have some goofs with you as we go along and maybe share a couple, nuggets here and there.
Hopefully I'll get you on again because
we'll see.
I literally,
We'll see.
I think we can talk
agent.
about this for hours upon hours upon hours. I don't know if people would listen to it for hours upon hours, but I know you and I could have conversations.
Well, you have a big following, man. People love you for a reason. You're as honest as they come. You're fun, but you love people. You take care of people. You do what you say. And this podcast, I think, is a fantastic way for you to showcase your brilliance and how much you really care for the legal industry, like I do. I think you and I are peas and carrots, my friend.
I agree. And I'm so grateful and appreciative of this relationship with you. It means the world to me. I mean, the world to me.
Don't mess it up.
So I fuck everything up. If you ask my wife, she'll be like, he'll fuck this one up. I'm like,
Steve
about right.
used to like you. What happened?
Yeah. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a hold of Steve and get his brilliance in regards to coaching, I'm going to put all of his contact information in the show notes because if he was to spill it out right now, you would be like, what was it? It'll all be in there. Follow him on LinkedIn. He has great content that he's putting out there. Listen to his podcasts. And I do say podcast because now he has 2. One wasn't good enough. I have to fucking do 2.
I'm an overachiever, right?
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Future Rainmakers, everybody.
Guy
Check
ever
out Future
sleep?
Rainmakers. Shameless plug.
Yes. Yeah. So, and I'll put those those links in the notes as well. Steve is not only a huge giver, but the guy is fucking smart as shit and he gets lawyers. So please, please consider him if you're looking at being a rainmaker, truly a rainmaker. If you can get yourself out of that mindset of poor me, I have to do business development. Yeah. If you want power, if you want freedom, if you want to make more money, have more confidence, he's the guy to go to. So get on it. Don't. I need to wait for this. Get your shit together and fucking hire his ass. So that note, Steve, God, it's been such a pleasure.
Hey, thanks.
Can't wait
Gary.
to have you back.
Man.
And hopefully we will talk soon.
We will.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
See ya.
That's it for today's episode of Unfuck Your Legal Marketing. If you got a spark of inspiration, learned something new, or at least got a good laugh, make sure to follow, rate, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for hanging out with me, and remember, the best marketing is the one that actually sounds like you. See you next time.